Welcome to their second movie Monday, and by complete coincidence, it's another Asian film, but this time it's Japanese. It's Shin Godzilla. I guess before we talk about this, what is well, okay, we all saw the wonderful movie that was the American 1998 Godzilla movie.
Oh no, let's
Uh,
never do that.
but what is our background with anything else regarding Godzilla?
Um, I think, well, obviously we've heard of it,
Well, yeah.
but I think otherwise, I see I saw that there are a lot of parodies of Godzilla that I've seen on TV and media and stuff like that, but otherwise I haven't actually seen like another Godzilla film.
I think I played a video game with Godzilla at like a neighbor's house once, and it was you picked one of the kaiju and you beat up another kaiju. So that's my only other experience with Godzilla as Godzilla, because yeah, otherwise there are parodies or parallels. I think Reptar is
Yeah, that was what
Godzilla.
I was thinking. I was thinking of Reptar
You
and
Reptar too.
the one from Detective Conan that the kids like. I forgot what that one's name is though.
Oh, I don't remember his name, but yeah, that's all that we have. So what about you, Valen?
I've seen the 2014 movie, which is definitely different from both the 98 movie and this movie. So, yeah. And then, of course, yeah, like you said, I just kind of generally know roughly about it. And there's the NES Godzilla creepypasta story, which sounds like that would be really dumb, but it's actually really good, but it's mostly good because of the images and the sprite work that was done to make the images. It's very technically impressive. The story itself, honestly, gets kind of silly, but it's very impressive in that sense. So it's one that I actually recommend if anyone's interested in that kind of stuff. But anyway, so I had heard that this movie, a lot of people really liked it. Both Japanese people and also non-Japanese people really liked it. So I was curious to see it, hence why it ended up on the list to begin with, and then now we're watching it right now. Now, we did watch this with the English dub. Main reason being that I saw kind of a non-spoilery review of this movie a bit ago, and they mentioned that there's a lot of talking and a lot of it's really fast, and so if you're doing it subtitled, it's pretty difficult to follow along. That was the main thing I heard, and then also I saw people saying the dub's pretty good. Now, I don't know if I would quite say the dub is good, but it's fine.
Yeah,
It's passable.
there are worser dubs.
Yeah.
I think some of the characters were done okay, and then some were just not.
Yeah,
There was no one that was horrendously bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, there wasn't at the same time. There wasn't really anyone who was great either. It was most of them
No.
were fine. So
Yeah.
I do kind of wonder, and because okay, I don't know about you, but did the music feel kind of weird to you?
Did it seem out of place?
Either out of place or it felt like the mixing. It felt like someone literally just put an MP3 track over the movie file. It didn't feel incorporated into what it was. So part of me is did they somehow mess with the music for the dub? Because it kind of feels like that somehow, and so I don't know. I almost kind of want to see the Japanese version now just to see if the music is still kind of fits better. Because I don't know, it felt a little off sometimes. What was it? When
the final battle.
yeah, because during part of the final battle, there's this kind of weird kind of upbeat military march song, and it's what is happening?
That's very characteristically American, so
guess.
it's kind of funny because I thought of, for the Tales of games, they usually don't use the original Japanese openings for some of the openings in America, but what they did for one of two of them by now, Tales of the Abyss and Tales of Zestiria, is that they took the original song and they just made an electric guitar version. So it kind of reminded me of that, where they just inserted like more American music.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know if they did like insert this for the dub or not, right? So that's one thing I want to check.
Like I could see it going either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, the tone in this movie at a decent number of points is kind of awkward, but at the same time, it kind of uses that to its advantage. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was thinking in my head, I was like, this is very, like, there were classic monster moments and stuff, like where it's trashing around the city and stuff like that, but I guess the thing that I was not expecting was actually how it looked into, like, the political aspect of, like, a monster attack and stuff. I thought that it was really interesting, and it was something that I was not expecting going into the movie and stuff.
It is an interesting look into just post-war Japan, because I think, Valen, you mentioned that the original Godzilla was based off of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings, and they did reference that in the film. But this one is based off of the Fukushima Daiichi meltdown.
Yeah. And like for example, when it like first comes like as like that weird like lizard thing, it's like it kind of is mimicking like a tsunami in terms of how it like kind of bursts through like the roads and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, because for me, like I noticed, I'm like, there's a lot of the bureaucracy, and it's weirdly kind of flat, especially early on in terms of like the delivery and what's going on. But then I'm like, this actually kind of works because it's this weird contrast where it's like the government is kind of like not really getting how fucked they are at first. And it kind of works to the advantage because it's just like, yeah, we gotta have all these meetings and go through the motions, and it's like, bro, you're gonna die, and like they don't get it, you know what I mean? So it kind of helps at first, but then it's like, because I think it works quite well until the scene at night, right? And that's, to me, that's like the emotional climax of the movie, because that's actually like a pretty damn like, oh shit kind of scene, right?
Yeah.
And so, but once that kind of happens, then it kind of like peters out a bit, and it still goes for another like 40 minutes. And it's not bad, it's just I felt like that was kind of like the big moment, and then it was just kind of going through the motions for the rest of it. So
I kind of wonder what would have happened if they actually like ended it shortly after that scene.
Well, see, the problem is I feel like, they have to win at the end of the day, right? I don't think they were just going to have them lose. So it's kind of weird. I'm like, I don't really know what they could have done instead. But, because honestly, again, like what I thought that was interesting is they do a really good job at sort of conveying, again, the Japanese government, they don't, okay, I had so many thoughts in my head. One thing that's really nice is they don't have like, oh, here's the evil human villain who's trying to ruin things. It's like, no, the monster is the enemy. Easy. You know what I mean? That's all you need to do. And like the government, of course, they like kind of mess up and they don't really know what to do, but like they're earnest about it and it feels like legitimate. It doesn't feel like... It
feels like something like you're actually watching a government try and solve it, as opposed to, here's the villain of the day.
Yeah, or here's the scrappy young random hero that's gonna somehow, fix the problem that the government can't. You know what I mean? That's the whole American trope, right?
I like how they give all of the members of the government some kind of nuance to them, because none of them are technically wrong and none of them are technically right. They're all just kind of like, oh my god, there's a monster. Yeah. What do we do? It's like not... Because there were these scenes where it's like, oh, it's not in like the treaty, it's not in like this... regulation document or something, and you watch that and you're just like, that's so sad, but it's also like,
they have to start somewhere, kind of, in terms of, and I also, what I really like then to kind of, as a aside with that, is how they sort of, reveal is the wrong word, but how they kind of like, they build up Godzilla, right? Because when it's like, okay, here's this thing in the water, and you're like, okay, it's gonna be Godzilla, alright, fine. And then they show, and it's this weird, like, salamander-looking thing, and you're like, well,
it
what
looks
the
so
fuck?
Gross.
Yeah, it's like, you're like, kind of like, oh, what the hell is that? It's not what you expected at all, right?
So gross.
So that was like, it's that first kind of, this is really weird, and then it's like, it does its thing, and then it kind of goes away, and you're like, alright, okay, and that's kind of your emotion, and then so you're like, okay, but then you're like, all right, I guess we kind of understand that was the powerful thing, and we saw it changing, so you're like, okay, I guess it's going to be, more of the standard Godzilla thing later on, okay, fine, and you're like, okay, I guess I understand how this works now. Then it shows up again, and it's way bigger, and you're like, oh shit.
That's Godzilla.
Yeah, so that moment where you see him and he's like, oh, he's way bigger than he was before. It's just like, oh, fuck, right? So that handles really well. But then it's like, okay, they're attacking it, and it's like, it seems like their strategy, the military, is kind of working. And again, it's like, okay, I think I kind of see how this works. And then you have the scene at night with the atomic breath and the shit coming out of his back, and then it's like, shit, I don't know, we're totally screwed, right? So it keeps building up on that sense, right? And it does that really well. Again, I just feel like once that happens with the atomic breath at night, then it's kind of, there isn't another moment to top that later. So
yeah, because I guess they have to go through all of the, okay, let's like go back to the political stuff, because now there is no prime minister anymore.
Yeah.
They kind of have to act on their own and make a decision. And I didn't watch Evangelion, but Hideaki Anno directed this movie. He was the creator of Evangelion, and as I was watching it and after I found that out, I was like, oh, yeah. You can see a lot of like the commentary from Evangelion a little bit, like with the monster and I guess how the people react, because I guess the thing with Anno is that he deals a lot with like how humans react to circumstances. And that seemed to be the focus, and I like that part, because if it was just like Godzilla for the entire 2-hour run, I think I'd be pretty bored.
yeah.
You mean like with the 98 version?
Yeah, or like even like, I don't know, like Cloverfield is kind of an unfair like comparison, because that's just really bad characters with no nuance. But at least here it's like you can see the people trying to work through this problem, and it's kind of like a mystery with like Yakuchi and him trying to figure out, okay, how do we take down this monster without killing tons of people? Because of course America just wants to, bomb the shit out of it. More commentary.
Yeah.
Oh,
Speaking of the Cloverfield angle, it's kind of an opposite Cloverfield in a sense, where like in this movie, it's all about the government and the top-down perspective trying to deal with the problem. Whereas Cloverfield, the idea of it, and I admit that it doesn't do this super well, is here's random people who are just so confused and are completely lost and just trying to not die, right? So it's like it's a completely opposite approach. And so again, I think if you had the characters actually be likable, Cloverfield, again, it's a very different kind of atmosphere and different kind of tone you're going for. But it's interesting because, again, on paper, it seems like it's a very similar kind of movie, right? So, yeah. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say, going back to when we were talking about the weird salamander thing in the beginning, I found the scene where they first showed Godzilla to be actually pretty well done, because usually with monster films they'll do like this really slow-mo thing of the monster rising up from the ocean and stuff that. Where in this movie it's like, it's on land and then it just cuts straight away.
He's like moving boats and like vehicles and people are running, they're screaming. There's like cuts of people taking videos on their phones.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
again, like it kind of goes back to what I said about like the kind of build-up and the reveal of the Godzilla and his different stages. They're very much like, boom, there it is, and it's like it is effective because it takes you off guard, right? Because there is something new for those times when it happens, and so and speaking of the off guard reveals, you have that final shot, which. I don't know what's up with that. I even looked on Wikipedia and it was just like, yep, there's like human things in it now. Okay, that's all we know. And it's like, well, okay. So
I think that's just a Hideaki Anno-ism, so let's just forget about it.
Apparently there was supposed to be a sequel in this series, but then it got scrapped.
Well, so I saw
like a Godzilla versus King Kong.
Yeah, okay, so I saw that because there's the 2014 American Godzilla movie, right? And then the idea is that and as well as when was that? 2018's like King Kong movie, is that those are supposed to be kind of this sort of monster cinematic universe, but it's like American. And so then you had just a few months ago, we had the Godzilla King of Monsters movie, and then in 2020, it's going to be Godzilla versus King Kong. So the idea is that like, this is some sort of shared universe. I think the idea was that Toho was basically like stepping away from that and being like, okay, you guys can just kind of deal with Godzilla for right now, and we'll just hold back. I saw, but I did see also that they're thinking maybe like in 2020 or 2021 they'll start working on. It said specifically not a direct sequel, but they said as like this is a branching off point into possibly like our own kind of monster cinematic universe thing. So
Okay.
yeah, which could be interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to think like how do I kind of rate this, because again I think this movie has some really good moments. And it's just the tone is weird, but is that a good thing? And then also I do think that last like 30-ish% is a little is just kind of there.
They kind of dropped the pacing after like the big devastation scene.
So it's kind of I'm trying to think how to rate it. Well, okay. Before we officially try to talk about ratings, is there anything else anyone wants to bring up?
Oh, it was kind of interesting seeing like a foreign nation's perspective on America.
Yeah.
Where they were like, those Americans, oh, how typical.
Yeah.
It is kind of funny being on the other side of the fence.
The one thing I was going to mention is that only in Japan would they think of something called train bombs. And
I was going to mention that too. You're right. Yeah.
And it was actually pretty amazing to see the train bombs.
Yeah, that was cool.
Oh, yeah.
I like that because I was just like, what are these trains doing? Oh, that's what they're doing. So yeah, that was because I feel like I haven't really seen that done before in a movie. So.
I know. Actually,
and I found it interesting too because Tokyo Station. They mentioned early on that it stopped near Tokyo Station and stuff. So
yeah.
I was like, oh, that's an interesting like tidbit to like say and stuff. And then when they showed all the trains going, I was like, that's why they don't.
Yeah, like having been there before, yeah, there are a lot of trains there, so it was a very good use of the trains since you know no one's in the city.
Yeah, I remember. What was? Oh yeah, the only movie that had anything to do with like exploding trains, I think, was Broken Arrow. Remember had like the nuke on the train.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
I thought you were gonna say 2012.
Well, that was right. Yeah, that was the other thing where there's that moment in the LA's like falling apart where the train just like busts out of the side of the ground.
That was so dumb.
I know, like yeah, but so.
Oh my god.
We need more. Actually, if I remember correctly, the 2014 Godzilla movie they don't have train bombs, but they do have like a main scene involving a train.
It's still not a train bomb.
It's not a train bomb though.
We need more train bombs. that in movies.
It is interesting how people haven't thought about that yet in their like monster or disasters films.
Yeah. Again, because I feel like a lot of them, it's just like kind of the same old shit a lot of the time, right? And actually, that's something that kind of this movie does for a little bit, where at the beginning they're just like, yeah, I don't know, just fucking shoot at it, right? And like that's what they start with, which is like kind of what everyone starts with. But then they move from that when they realize, hey, this doesn't work. Let's try other things, right? So, yeah. Whereas like I'm thinking the '98 movie where it's just like they try shooting it, they fail. Next day, they try shooting it, they fail, and it's like, bruh, do something else.
Saving the day with science.
Yeah. So I think ultimately I'm gonna give this a 7, even though I do think again like the last like 30-ish% kind of goes a little bit flat. It's not like a bad part. You're just kind of like, okay, now it's kind of standard. So, and I do think again like the some of the action, like the train thing, and again that first reveal when you first see it, the moment when then you see it as it's like way bigger, and then the atomic breath scene. That scene is like legitimately like really well done, like the atomic breath thing. So I'm gonna give it a 7. I could see honestly, I could see people rating this like significantly higher or significantly lower just based on how they feel about it. So I'm kind of curious to hear what you two are gonna say.
I think I'll also give it a 7. I also think I liked it more than the Mulan film, but yeah, similarly, I like the use of the effects and everything, especially the train bombs. I don't know. I just really liked the scene where you see like all the bombs on the trains like just going straight at Godzilla.
Oh yeah,
and
like
then
like 6 of them like come out of the tunnel at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that scene was really cool, and then similarly the atomic like laser, I guess, and how it starts off as like a fire and then it kind of like gets smaller and smaller until it becomes like a laser.
Yeah, and then it shoots out of its back, and it's just like, oh, again, it's that
Yeah,
that escalation part of it, right?
Yeah, when that happened, I was like, people are fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
Those
People are gonna die.
Yeah.
So Mike?
Okay, I will also give it a 7, mostly because, I guess, yeah, there was, like, the effects and stuff, but I was just very, engrossed in the, political aspect, and actually,
Same.
now that I thought about it, while the dub itself wasn't, like, super great, I thought that the way that they translated the dialogue was pretty good.
It's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
The way that they even, like, translated "eat the dakimasu." I was like at one point I was like, wait, did he just say thanks for the food? It's just funny hearing it in English, but yeah, I thought just the nuances of like the government, how it was handled, and I guess just seeing how a post-war Japan would react to something like this, I thought that was also very interesting, and I guess just all of the background with how this was like, okay, this is a new Godzilla based off of a more recent nuclear event.
Mhm.
So I just thought a lot of like thought went into this movie. Like, even though maybe like some of the things like got dropped, like the pacing near the end was kind of weird and stuff, but I thought that overall it brought together a lot of good things. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna go with a 7 too.
And I think especially for me, why I'm giving it like a 7, like over maybe a 6, is that like the Mulan movie, again, we all said it was overall like, pretty good, but like
Yeah.
there was nothing in the Mulan movie where I felt like, oh, I'm really glad I saw that.
Yeah.
Right, and there is a few moments here where that happens, and again, also echoing what you said about the government stuff, even though I haven't like praised that a ton here, it's still good. To me, it's just not like especially good, right? But it's
Yeah.
still good in that sense. So, and I think that was interesting. Also, again, seeing that top-down perspective as again kind of like an opposite Cloverfield, that is an interesting thing that I don't really think we see, because again, so much of the American stuff, as I mentioned, it's just here's the plucky young hero that saves the day, and it's like, all right. So,
Usually a divorcee, and he gets back with his divorced
oh yeah,
wife.
it's
The kids hate him.
Part of the science-y department.
yeah, he's a guy that's, he doesn't follow the rules, and like, ooh, he's like kind of not the greatest guy, but people come around to him, and his wife then starts loving him again, and it's yeah. So
Yeah, let's stop with that trope, please, and not do that anymore, please.
yeah, what was the thing that I saw where it was like, we should have a protagonist that's like, just like so introverted, and it's just like, but they're being like forced into the role where they're just like, bro, you gotta do this, and he's just like, do I really like and he just like, and he doesn't like get out of it either. It's just the end of the day he's like, yeah, I saved her, just leave me alone now, okay? Like, I did what you wanted me to do, let me just go home, okay?
Give me my peace.
Yeah.
Give me my Pringles.
My Pringles.
So
Actually, now that you mentioned it, with the one last comment, the plucky young divorcee or whatever, I just thought of in the West it's very individualized,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
in the East it's like collectivist. So it makes sense that Japan decided to give this to the government.
Yeah.
But then again, shonen manga exists, so I don't know.
yeah, who knows? Speaking of things that we don't know, shall we randomise?
Yeah,
next
let's
pick.
randomize.
Oh boy,
Now-
I
Shin Godzilla was one of the 4 randomly picked ones, so I guess I should just roll at a 6 this time.
Yeah.
Right. So it would be one of ours. I don't know I don't know which one I'm actually hoping for at this moment.
I don't know either.
I know.
I'm scared.
You're Tara, you clearly want
Oh, I don't want that.
Okay, is that what we get? And our number is 2. Oh,
2.
Yes, it's Die Hard.
Oh, Die Hard 1!
We finally get to see the original Die Hard.
More explosions.
Yeah. The first Die
We're
Hard.
back in America.
Yep. You see, it's like there's kind of like a link between all of these, right? The first it was 2 Asian films, and now it's gonna be like 2 like boom films. I don't know. Really loose connection, but yeah, okay. So we finally get to see the original Die Hard. See what all the fuss is about.
Yes.
The only sad thing is that there's no Samuel Jackson.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, so that's the only thing that's
Downfall.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
bad. I don't know if is there like some sidekick guy this time. I don't know. I probably not because it's the first one, right? So
I don't think so.
yeah.
I don't think so. I've seen like a comparison between like the movie and the book, because there is apparently a novel for Die Hard, and I don't think there's a sidekick. I think it's just Bruce Willis by himself.
That makes sense if it's the first one.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. Next week, Die Hard.
Yep.
The best.
No vengeance yet.
The best Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Great. Bye.
Bye.